Hey, it's Alan Berg. Before we get into this episode, I'm starting something called Ask Me Anything. That's right. You submit your questions and they could become an entire episode or something that I answer at the end of an episode. To submit your questions, look for the red button at podcast.alanberg.com. That's right, podcast.alanberg.com. Click on the red button, submit your question, and maybe you'll hear it here on the podcast. Thanks. How do you handle leads that are very far out into the future? Listen to this episode, see where we can do with it. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Berg. I'm a speaker, sales trainer, consultant, author, and I help businesses like yours sell more, profit more, and have a little more fun doing it. Enjoy this episode. Hey, it's Alan Berg. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. This is another Ask Me Anything suggestion. This one from an entertainment company here in the States who said, how do you handle a lead that's 15 months out? And I didn't have any more information than that, so I'm just going to riff through a few different ideas with this. My initial thought is, as an entertainment company, that's different than as a venue or a caterer, because it's not unusual for a venue to get an inquiry for 15 months out because people do need to get their venue before they can do a lot of the other things there. So I'm not sure where the question was coming from. Is it about pricing? Because that's one thing. If it's about, how should you price yourself 15 months out? Well, again, it depends on what your service is, because for a venue or a caterer, you need to know what that pricing is more than a year out, because the average wedding, depending upon where you are in the world, is being planned in the States anyway. It's still being planned a year or more away. So you would have to have that pricing in there. So that shouldn't be an issue. I do hear from venues sometimes it's 2 years out or even longer than that. Somebody's in university or somebody in the military or something and is planning for when there's some sort of a milestone or something that's going to happen that's going to say, yes, we can do this, but not for 2 more years until I, get my degree or my master's or my PhD or whatever it is you're going for, right? So, that's something where the uncertainties of supply chain, the uncertainties, as I'm recording this, of tariffs and stuff like that, which are, these are all uncertainties in pricing. This is where, you have to have pricing a year out. Certainly, I would think for any business, you should be planning for next year. If it's longer than that, historically look back and say, what kind of increase have we had? What kind of price fluctuations have we had in our cost of goods sold and our cost of delivering services? And, can we just build that in and say, okay, I'm planning on a 10% increase. I'm planning on a 7% increase, a 20% increase, whatever it is. If somebody wants to book me 2 years out, that's going to be this much more. How far off could you really be? Right. I suppose the parts of what you do could certainly go up. Again, as I'm recording this, tariffs have gone up, tariffs have gone down, some have gone away. So it could certainly affect it. But, that's one element of what you do. That's not the entire cost of what you do. Expect that your labor will cost more later. Expect that your fuel and utilities and things like that, just because those things tend to go up. So expect that, so you can figure pricing based upon that. The other side of this, as an entertainment company, if someone's inquiring 15 months out, the first thing I would do is I would ask them, have you already selected your venue, or are you still working on that? Because if they've booked the venue 15 months out, why not let them book you? Right? Why not? Now, as an entertainment company, if you're a single op or it's just you, you're booking yourself for 15 months out. Not a problem. I would book myself as a speaker 15 months out, right? If I had a team, right? So if you're an entertainment company that has a team, multi-op, or a photographer or any other businesses that have multiple people, you can do multiple events on a day. There's never a guarantee that that person's going to be available a year from now, 2 years from now. I mean, you've had it where people have worked with you for a long time and then something happens. Illness happens, marriage happens, divorce happens, people move for various reasons, and all of a sudden someone's not available and you have to have someone cover that. So I don't think that's any different than normal business, the fact that it's 15 months out versus 6 months out. That can happen to any business there. So again, as far as this suggestion for an entertainment company, if someone has not yet booked their venue, and they're looking at 15 months out, I would talk to them. I would get them excited and say, listen, obviously I can't book you until I have a date. What I could do is if you have a tentative date, and you want our services and you want to lock in a price, I can give you a price. And then if the wedding happens within, or the event happens within X number of months of that date and we're still available, then this is your price. If we're not available, you would write that into the contract that certain time beforehand is when they would have a chance to cancel and either get a deposit back or tell them, no, there's no refunds, right? There's no refunds on that. If you tell me by X time, you don't owe me the rest of the money. If you tell me closer than that, you do owe us some more money because we're holding a date for you that we can't book someone else. So, if someone doesn't have a date yet and is trying to book their photographer, their florist, their DJ, their band, any number of services that are date dependent, and they don't have a date, all you can do is tentatively say, hey, if you want to lock in a price, I can do that. But the event has to happen within this time frame and I have to be available for that. And then I would talk to a lawyer and I would talk about cancellation clauses and when would they get some or any or none of their money back based upon certain things. When would they owe you more money if they canceled? Even if they canceled, if it's close, your contract probably right now should say that they owe you money. And the closer it is, they might owe you all the money. And if they're okay with that, great, just be prepared. Are you going to hold them to that? So again, great suggestion here talking about, for the Ask Me Anything, what happens when the date is far out. Pricing is always a challenge. I would go back again, historically look at that, look at what's been happening in the last couple of years with supply chain issues and things like that. Have you found alternative sources so you can keep your prices within a certain range? If you heard the episodes here, if you're a caterer, if you heard the episodes I've done with Clint or with Trip from SB Value, talking about how you can lock in through a buying group. All right, if you haven't listened to those, where you can lock in your food prices through a buying group and know that you're going to, limit the amount that you'll be affected by some of those things. Those are some things you can do. But if someone wants to book you 2 years out, and just give them a price. Right? Don't sell with your wallet. And if you say, listen, it's 30% more than it is today, or it's 50% more than it is today, it's their wallet. If they want to lock you in for that number, great. Just be prepared to live with it. One last thing on this. I have had caterers and other people ask me, can we put a clause in our contract that prices can go up because it's far out in the future based on certain things? I am not a lawyer. I am not giving legal advice. I would have you talk to a lawyer and say, what is the legal language I can do? And how is this verifiable, right? Like when you have a variable mortgage, the rate is based upon something. So if it's based on the LIBOR, or if it's based on the U.S. Treasury rate, or the prime rate, that's something that's verifiable to the public. You can't just say, hey, rates went up, I'm raising your price. So if there's something you can do, if it's based upon the consumer price index, or if it's based upon the inflation index from the government by a public number that everybody can go with, say, listen, this number is this much higher than that, therefore you're paying this much more. Talk to a lawyer. Is that legally enforceable? That could be a way to protect yourself as well. But you can't just say, I have the right to raise your price, because I don't know many customers that would sign that agreement that would say, you can just raise my price at any time, right? So I would, again, talk to a lawyer, make it something that is legally enforceable and that you would be prepared to enforce. And then the other side of this, I had somebody ask me one time when during COVID, prices went up for food, and they said, can we raise the price? I said, does your contract allow it? It did not. I said, just let me ask you a question though. Has your cost of food or supply ever gone down? And they said, yes. I said, and have you ever lowered somebody's price because of it? And they said, no. I said, okay, so you want your cake and eat it too, right? That's not really fair, right? Now, within a range, right? Price go up a little, go down a little bit, that's business, right? Go up a lot. If that's something, again, like a tariff, if you can put that in your contract legally enforceable, that you had a lawyer give you the right wording, and it's something that someone could verify, you could ask. It's up to the customer to say yes or no. If you haven't asked me anything suggestion, just go to podcast.alanberg.com, click on the Ask Me Anything button, and make your suggestion there. It might make it to a future episode. So thank you for this one. And if you haven't already subscribed, please hit subscribe. And if you have the ability to put a review or a comment, we'd love for you to do that as well. If not, you could always go to Google, review alanberg.com. Thanks for listening. Hi, it's Alan Berg. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wedding Business Solutions podcast. If you have a suggestion for a future topic or a guest, please go to podcast.alanberg.com and you can make your suggestion there. You can also do it at Ask Me Anything, which is a button on that page, or just email me at alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com. And if you'd like to find out how I can help you with sales training, website review, consulting, or speaking for your group or organization, possibly at no cost to the organization, contact me directly, alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com. Thanks again for tuning in.